Scene 13. The front on a 1920 Ford Model T rolls onto the stage. Where the back would be appears to be packed with trunks and crates. There is just enough room for Bill and Blanche in the front. During the next scene, images should appear on the screens of the places they are visiting and driving through. It should be a fairly continuous flash of images.
Next morning, they set out on their journey. It was the beginning of September. The weather would most likely be nice for the trip.
They figured it would take about 3 weeks to drive to California. Their route would take them through New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and into California.
Bill and I grew up in Virginia. We'd never been west at all. Bill went to Europe in the war, but other than that, we had only ever lived in Virginia and New York City. This would be an adventure, if nothing else.
So much of the drive was beautiful. Pennsylvania was covered in mountains and forests. The air was crisp and cool. Many nights we set up a lean-to against the car and slept just off the road under the stars.
The travel was hard on Bill, but he didn't want Blanche to know, so he just smiled and never let on how bad he was feeling. The cool night air made his lungs ache, and some nights he would sit up after Blanche fell asleep and try to keep the coughing under control.
On those nights, sleep was impossible.
Almost a week into our trip, I knew we needed to take a break.
They'd made it through New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Ohio, and they were in Indiana.
Bill wasn't doing so well. He was trying to hide it from me, but he had awful dark circles under his eyes. And the last 2 nights I woke from his terrible coughing.
Rain. There is the outside of a grand hotel, the Hotel Lincoln.
What are we doing here?
We're stopping and checking in for a few nights. We need to sleep in a real bed.
Oh, I'm fine. We can keep going. We just need to push forward.
Well, this stop isn't for you. I am a lady, and I am not going 1 mile more without a proper bath, a meal, and a couple of good nights in a real bed.
Okay. What do we need from the car?
Just that suitcase up on top.
Huh. It's almost like you planned this.
You didn't expect me to go 3 whole weeks sleeping on the ground and without a bath, did you?
Okay, I'll get the case. You get us a room.
Lights shift and the car is struck from the stage as a dining table and chairs is placed on the stage.
That was the best steak I have ever had in my life. You barely ate anything. Did you not like it?
It was fine.
We can order something else if you didn't like it. I'll get the waiter.
I'm just not that hungry. You look so beautiful tonight.
Don't change the subject. You need to eat.
I'm not changing the subject. I'm serious. You are stunning. Every man in here turned and watched you as we took our seats. Folks have been looking our way the whole meal.
Bill.
Can I get you folks anything else? Perhaps dessert?
Well, what's on the dessert menu this evening?
Tonight we have a choice of strawberry ice cream cake or chocolate ice cream.
Chocolate ice cream.
Blanche looks at Bill. He tries to smile, but is so exhausted that he can barely hold his head up.
You know, I'm pretty full. I think we'll just get the check.
You love ice cream. You should have some.
Maybe tomorrow. I'm suddenly very tired.
Lights shift and the dining table and chairs are struck and a bed takes their place. Blanche steps downstage and Bill gets into bed.
We went to our room and I went into the bathroom to wash my face and get ready for bed. Bill was asleep before I got into bed that night. He slept straight through the night and into the next day. I was starting to worry that he might never wake up, and just when I was starting to feel panicked.
Hey.
Hey, sleepyhead.
What time is it?
1:15 in the afternoon.
What? I don't think I've ever slept that long.
It's okay. How do you feel?
Hungry.
Really?
Yes, starving.
Great. Let's go get some lunch.
The bed is struck, and we see Bill and Blanche walking hand in hand across the stage. The projections on the screen change to show sights of Indianapolis as man and woman speak.
They went for lunch and then took a walk around the city. They had an early supper because Bill was hungry again. And then around 8 o'clock that night, they went out to eat again. Bill couldn't eat enough.
Blanche had ice cream 3 times that day. It was the first day since they learned that Bill was sick that they felt hopeful.
I thought Bill's appetite coming back was a good sign.
I felt ready to get back on the road the next day.
The car reappears, and the projections change to show driving through the next states.
Over the next week, Bill and Blanche drove through Illinois, Missouri, Oklahoma, and into Texas.
First couple of days, I felt good. Better than I had in a long time. But then I woke up on the third morning and it felt like weights were dragging me down. Sitting up was hard. Standing and walking were near impossible.
By the time they hit Missouri, Blanche took over the driving.
I didn't mind. I love to drive.
But Bill just sat in the passenger seat and slept. A lot. He tried to act like he was fine, but it was getting worse. When they hit Amarillo, Texas, Blanche knew they had to stop for another couple of days.
I hoped that a bath and a meal and sleep in a real bed would have the same effect it had in Indianapolis.
Screen shows projections on the exterior of the Herring Hotel in Amarillo, Texas.
Bill? Hon, wake up. We need to stop for a few days.
Huh? Where are we?
The Herring Hotel in Amarillo, Texas.
Okay. We're stopping and staying here?
Just for a few days. I'll get the room.
Car is struck and bed appears on stage. Bill gets into bed. We see Blanche pacing, then with a tray of soup, trying to feed Bill, laying down, getting back up, pacing more, putting a wash rag on his head, other ways of nursing him. This is happening while woman and man tell the story.
Blanche got them a room. She insisted Bill take a bath and then he got into bed. For 3 days, she did her best to get him to eat, but the most she could get him to have was some soup and water.
Bill bathed and ate what he could and slept. But the more he slept, the more he wanted to sleep.
By the 3rd day in the hotel, Blanche was afraid Bill was dying. She went out and shopped for the trip to California. She got some loaves of bread and cheese and fruit and filled up our jugs of water. They were going to leave early the next morning.
I thought if I could just get Bill to that sanatorium in Palm Springs, then he would make it. The doctors there would know what to do. I couldn't lose him. I wouldn't let him die. Bill, wake up. We need to get you down to the car.
We're leaving? Can I sleep a bit longer?
You can sleep in the car. We just need to get back on the road. Palm Springs awaits.
Okay. Can you...
Oh, it's okay, Bill. I have you. Just lean on me.
They get in the car, and bed is struck.
The drive through New Mexico was hot, and Bill couldn't stay awake for more than an hour or two before exhaustion would take over.
Bill slept and Blanche drove. She drove all day and only stopped for gas and to sleep a little at night. Bill was getting worse. He was barely eating, and the sound of his cough was scarier by the day.
They made it into Arizona. Blanche had planned on stopping to see the Grand Canyon, but not now.
I just had to get Bill to the doctors. He had a fever, and when he was awake, he barely spoke. I was afraid he wouldn't make it much longer.
It was a Thursday. The sun was setting, and all of a sudden, the car made this terrible, loud bang sound, and the engine stopped.
I steered the car off to the side of the road and stopped. I looked at the engine, but I knew nothing about it. We were in the middle of nowhere. It was the desert. There were cliffs and boulders and a tiny little stream and nothing. I didn't know what to do.
Lights shift. In the dimming light, Blanche gets out their camp beds and blankets and takes them over and lays them out near the base of a boulder. Then she gets the half tent-like canvas they brought to use as a lean-to shelter and leans it against the boulder, creating a little tent. Then she goes to get Bill out of the car.
Bill, the car won't start. I set up our camp. Come and lay down.
Want me to look at the engine?
We'll see if you have the strength for it in the morning. Just come lay down for now. Then I'll get us some supper made, maybe a campfire to keep us warm tonight.
Bill gets out of the car. He cannot stand and walk without Blanche's help. She gets him over to the camp area. Bill lays down and falls back to sleep. Blanche gets the food basket out of the car and gathers some twigs and leaves and an array of wood she can find to burn for a fire and gets a fire started. She pulls out a tea kettle and puts it into the fire to heat some water. The sun has set. Bill begins to cough. He wakes and coughs and coughs. The coughing fit is the worst he has ever had. He coughs up blood and keeps coughing. Blanche rushes to him and holds him up. He coughs blood onto her. He is very weak. The coughing finally stops and Bill rests his head in Blanche's lap.
You should have stayed in New York.
Don't say that. You're gonna get better.
I don't think I am, Blanche.
Do not talk like that. I will walk and find help tomorrow, and we will get you to Palm Springs, and you will get better.
I love you so much, Blanche.
Don't you start saying goodbye.
I'm so sorry this is happening.
Blanche pushes his head off her lap and stands.
No, not now. I gave up everything for you. I left my dreams and half my heart back in New York. I did not do that so you could give up. You promised me, Bill. You promised you would do everything you could to get better. You promised. Now you fight. You hear me? You fight to stay with me. If you leave me here in the desert all alone, I will hate you forever. You fight, Bill. You can't leave me. You can't. I need you. Bill? Bill? Bill!
Blanche rushes to Bill's side.
Bill!
I'm still here, Blanche.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Bill. Fight for me. Please keep fighting.
I'm fighting. I'm trying. I promise.
He kisses his forehead and smooths his hair.
Blanche, will you do something for me?
I would do anything for you.
Sing to me. Sing me your song from the show.
Sunshine and shadows. I'm happy and blue. Happy when you're near me. Blue when you're away. Loving you sincerely. More and more each day. Forever and ever. To you I'll be true. Through sunshine and shadows, I'll always love you.
I'll always love you too.
You sleep. Sleep will help make you better.
Lights shift.
It was just me and Bill in the desert that night. I was just singing for him by the light of the campfire. And truly, it was the most magical moment of my life. I realized that he was the only crowd I ever needed. I didn't leave half my heart on the stage in New York City because this man had all my heart. I had wondered from the moment I gave my notice if I'd done the right thing. And now I knew. 5 more minutes with Bill was worth more to me than 100 standing ovations in New York City. I laid awake for hours listening to Bill breathe. I was so afraid he wouldn't wake up in the morning. But somewhere in the darkness, sleep overtook me.
Lights fade to black. The campfire flickers out. The only light on the stage is stars projected on the screen. Lights slowly rise as a sunrise at the Vermilion Cliffs appears on the screens. Blanche wakes. She stretches and checks Bill. He is breathing, and he shifts from her touch in his sleep, but doesn't wake. She can tell by touching his forehead that his fever has broken in the night. Blanche stands and walks down stage, staring at the beauty surrounding her. She breathes in deep. She slowly spins around, really taking in her surroundings, and a smile begins to spread across her face. Bill wakes and slowly gets to his feet. He comes up behind Blanche and hugs her from behind. She is startled at first, but then they turn, and she looks into his face. He is weak, but much better than the night before.
Morning.
Isn't it beautiful here?
Looking at Blanche, not his surroundings.
Breathtaking.
Ha! Really, look around you. Have you ever seen such an amazing place?
It is lovely.
It's the most peaceful place I have ever seen.
Well, I'm glad you like it. We may have to stay here till I can get the car working again.
What if you don't worry about that for now?
What do you mean?
What if we just make this our home?
What?
Really, I have an idea. I can see it all so clearly in my mind.
Bill and Blanche walk upstage towards the screens. Boulders appear on the screens as the scene continues. Bill and Blanche slowly waltz while the projections slowly change to reveal the house Bill and Blanche built.
Blanche did have an idea. She looked at these boulders and she saw homes and rooms.
Bill and Blanche purchased this land and used the natural materials around them to make a home and restaurant around the boulders.
These rock houses became a thriving business. Blanche Russell's Cliff Dwellers Lodge played host to tourists in the area visiting the Grand Canyon.
Mormons from Arizona were regular clientele at their restaurant when traveling the nearby Honeymoon Trail to get to a temple in St. George, Utah, to have their marriages sanctified.
During the Great Depression, Bill and Blanche fed and sheltered folks who headed west looking for work and a better future.
The move west worked out for Bill. He fully recovered from his tuberculosis and lived a long, happy life with Blanche at his side. He spent his days as the chef at the Cliff Dwellers Lodge restaurant.
Blanche never performed for crowds on Broadway again, but she found a new audience. In the evenings after supper was served to her guests, Blanche would sing and dance under the desert stars. Folks who stayed there would travel back home and tell stories of a beautiful woman in the desert with the voice of an angel and the heart and spirit of gold.
Part 4 will be an online guided discussion with the Lake Dillon Theater Company staff, the playwright, and the cast of this virtual production, released on Saturday, May 9th. Don't forget to subscribe and check out www.lakedillontheater.org for all of our online content.